right, here we go with another Hurt Blessings TV reaction. And we're gonna get right into it. Trap Lord Ross, he dropped a documentary, a long documentary, like 3+ hours long, on King Von. This goes over him essentially being hip hop's first serial killer. And I agree with that, his assessment. But was it his right to tell the story? We have him, Chicago King David, Van Lathan, and also Akademiks talking about it. Let's see what they get into.
He allegedly had something to do with. And, nearly 3 years has passed since he passed away. And I just kept looking into the guy. And at a certain point, I begun to feel like, you know what, this guy really is the real deal. It seemingly did all this stuff that he rapped about. You know, he seemingly was a killer. He said himself that he's got 7 bodies. And it just got me thinking. And, I went away and I looked at the FBI definition of a serial killer. And I felt he fit that description. And, I felt like I decided to make the video about Von. I felt people had a right to know about the stories behind his music. These are Billboard charting songs that are being played on the radio for public consumption. And I felt like, I knew I put a target on my back with the video, but I felt like he did meet the requirements that the FBI have for a serial killer. And, I feel like I'm not involved in that life. I'm not.
See, he keeps talking about the FBI requirements to be deemed a serial killer, and he's right. You have to have at least 3 consecutive killings to be called a serial killer. I see people, they be talking about the mass shooting. Why they're not called that? Because a serial killer does it in more than one instance. A mass shooter, they just shoot in a crowd, they may hit 10 people, but that was one incident. A serial killer does something that one time, some time goes by, does it another time, and then another time, and then another, and so forth. Now Von being accused with between 5 to 12 murders definitely deems him to that. I think they attribute about 5 to 7 to him personally, I guess, and then they're saying he had another 4 or 5 that he was implicated having involvement in. So he would fit that requirement for sure.
Not in a gang, and I feel like, I'm just a guy on the internet consuming music, reviewing music, looking at song lyrics. And, I didn't feel like I shouldn't be able to talk about this and put the documentary out. It's obviously gotten a big response. Some good, some bad. I'm not afraid of having the debate about it, and I know some people's feelings have been hurt, and I'm down to listen and maybe understand why maybe some people didn't feel good about the video, but that's my perspective. The guy was super famous. He was charting on Billboard with songs talking about how many people he killed, and I think I decided to look into it and make a video.
I'll explain a serial killer to me. The definition that you received from the FBI.
So the FBI defines a serial killer as somebody that's killed 3 or more people with space in between each of the killings. So not going on a killing spree and killing 7 people in the same day. It's killing people with time passing. You got time to think.
See, that's exactly what I just was saying. He's just going over that definition, I guess, for everyone, so they don't know, or there's no type, because a lot of time online, on the internet, people, we like to come up with our own little personal little definitions, sort of like we do in the hood too, like our own definitions for shit, but we misconstrue the actual meaning of the word. So yeah, and by that, dude is really that. He's gonna bust it down again. He's gonna hear from the white man mouth, since y'all like hearing it like that.
About what you're doing in between the killings, and killing 7 people, I don't think makes you a serial killer. The other element of what FBI defines as a serial killer is the element of psychological gratification. So people getting something out of the killings, people getting a sense of self-esteem or a sense of excitement out of the murders, a sense of excitement about not getting caught. And I feel that really the time when Von could really be classified as a serial killer isn't when he killed all those people allegedly in the gang war. It's when he started rapping about it. It's when he started trying to convince the whole world that he had done this. He wanted the whole world to know that he had 7 bodies, as he said, and he wanted to continue killing people. He had that famous lyric where he said, killed some N-words, I'll do it again. You know, he allegedly put up $100,000 and arranged for FBG Duck to be killed after becoming a millionaire. So I think it's really not the fact that he was in a situation, you know, where unfortunately he was pushed into violence by circumstances of where he grew up. That's
Trap Lord Ross ain't lying though. Everything he's saying is fucking true. It's true. He's not lying about nothing. I just don't like it because he's saying it. Yeah, I know. And that's kind of wrong with our community. It's like we always want to try to cover up the dirt, even because we like somebody. Nah, that boy twisted. He's a twisted boy. Eating cereal, talking about killing people. He was a weirdo. Fine ass needed to be in an institute chained up. He needed to be in Arkham Asylum, nigga. Von ass needed to be in Arkham Asylum, nigga, with the rest of the motherfucking Batman villains. This weird ass boy.
That's not what I think makes him a serial killer. I think it's unfortunate a lot of people are born into difficult areas and are forced to do things to survive. But I think when it came to Von, when he became famous and he became a millionaire, he kept wanting to tell the world that he had killed people. He seemingly continued to play a role in having people killed. I think FBG Duck is the prime example. There's also the example of Man Can't Get Right, an individual who obviously was kind of gunned down, and King Von released a song within a week of that murder talking about my killers are catching bodies for me. So it's kind of like, you know, I think he meets the definition of a serial killer, not because of what he did in the streets, but actually because of what he did when he got out of the streets. He kept pushing this narrative that he was a killer. He kept trying to arrange for people he didn't like to be killed. You know, when he was a millionaire, he didn't need to put a bounty on FBG Duck's head. You know, he could have let that slide.
He wanted to keep pushing that.
He did it, and he tweeted about it, and he wanted everyone to know what he had done. So to me, it's those two elements that make him a serial killer. It's not that he killed people. A lot of people are put in situations. I mean, DaBaby, Gucci Mane. There's a lot of rappers that have been unfortunately put in those situations where they've had to take a life, and you know, it's not the same as rapping in a bunch of songs that you're proud of killing 7 people and that you'll do it again and that they can't play with you. You know, that's how I see it. But I'm open to hearing a broader kind of perspective.
My whole thing about it was,
I ain't gonna lie, you cannot like, because he's a white man, you cannot like, he's from another country saying this, but everything that Trap Lord Ross said is, he kept it above. He talked about it, he documented these murders, these vicious killings. Not only just in the music, he was doing it on Twitter before that, which makes it like a clear pattern that he wanted to have recognition. Von was a sicko that wanted recognition for his work. Dude was accused of KI's, departure from this life, and he's in her documentary, bro. He's in her A&E documentary, bro. Laughing and trolling the whole time. So it's like, you know, he was a sick individual. He liked this. Y'all just don't like it. That's like, to me, Von is the equivalent of how y'all got the sick uncle or the sick weirdo cousin that like to try to mess with little youngins or something. He's the weirdo. He was just a weirdo that lived in the projects. And instead of doing that, it's people in the hood that's like Von. They just don't never get no attention. They got them bodies, just nobody doesn't pay attention to them because it's in the hood and people attribute it to all types of shit. And people in the workplace doing that. Nurses and doctors that have sick fetishes killing their patients because they could get away with it, doing it for years. There's documentaries on it. There's people who's weird. And Von was a weirdo that the record companies gave a platform to, honestly.
It wasn't even like so much about King Von. It was about all the other cans that are being opened when these type of documentaries drop. All the other people that's been killed and people that's probably just sitting around that day and you drop this documentary, then they go slide on somebody because you put a picture of one of their people in this documentary, and now you mentioning Vaughn again. So it's like you re-wakening up the dead in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even think you know probably how many shootings that video probably in caused since the day it dropped. How many bodies probably in dropped because of that video. How much more gasoline have been added to that whole big issue. Even though it's going on, every time it jumps into the people's eye, it gets bigger. And somebody else build up more courage to go out here and do and commit more killings. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's deeper than just Vaughn. Like you got to think about Vaughn kids growing up watching the video about their father being a serial killer. It's okay he rapped about it. Parents and
It's the truth, though. It's the truth. That's like R. Kelly. R. Kelly kids gotta come up and see a million documentaries about him and little TikToks and weird videos everybody wants to have an opinion on about him. They have to see that. The same thing with anybody, bro. Michael Jackson and them kids had to come up with that. It's just the price of the actions in the regular life. Kids have to wear the sins of the parents. It ain't fair, but it's there.
and they people couldn't explain music to them because being an artist, you're a character. So I think the people that's like you, that's not really in this, not really from the culture, y'all take it as if, damn, this really won. Oh, this really such and such. These people be characters. You ever seen Famous Dex? He be two different people. The baby, he be two different people. So just because Vaughn was just tweeting, oh, I want to catch a body, he could have been talking about knocking down a female or something. You know what I'm saying? Or he could have just been tweeting it. That don't mean that these things actually really be going on. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of people. Like I was on the phone with TF.
I'm mad they got him on here talking about they needed to have somebody from maybe I feel Von's side and the FBG side. You know, that's comfortable speaking. Could have been anybody. Could have been FRBJ, man, somebody. But anyway, because he's talking too much on some weird neutrality shit. Anybody with some type of knows like, man, this is some bullshit that you're trying to use as deflecting area tool. Van Ness know that. Trap Lord Ross for sure know it. That's his whole face change. So we gonna skip past your cap ass. Cause I don't even wanna hear what your cap ass is saying. I ain't saying you a cap individual, but and this is a very long one up here. I wanted to get when you get Fat Boy up on here, the original Culture Vulture.
Like, I'm open to any kind of conversation. So, you know, I really
Sure.
appreciate this. And Dave, for you to like come on and actually have an open conversation with me and not kind of just shout me down, you know, I really appreciate that because I think we're gaining some understanding. And, you know, maybe I could come to Chicago and meet you. There are a lot of people in my DM saying they're going to smoke.
They got akademiks fat ass on a kangaroo court. Let's see what he gonna talk about. Shout out to Ak. I'm just playing with you, bro. You just shot it. You're a pioneer in all this. But you gotta come to court too.
If I come to Chicago, so
Hey man,
make sure
I'll
that
be
doesn't
honest
happen.
about that, man. That could happen. Me and Van talked about this before. So Chicago a tricky place, man. You just got to be careful with the people that you deal with. You know, backdoor is a sport in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And people would love to put you on the documentary. Just know that. The same way they love to put akademiks on one.
Jesus, bro.
Hey, and y'all niggas see how akademiks put his head down, drop Lord Ross. You gotta take a good 8-hour, 6-hour flight to get to see his ass. Akademiks ass is in New Jersey. He's in the U.S. You can get touched. That's why he kind of put his head down.
Oh, I know it's true. I know it's true.
All right,
They was asking for you. They got
No,
what you got, man.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I enjoyed this debate. I'm gonna be honest though, because I've been in a bunch of these before and I've never shied away. I think the context and the pretext that y'all were debating on was just like I warned Trap Lord Ross, but I was actually wrong. There's like zero way to defend Vaughn in the majority of things you talk about. You're either gonna have a bad faith debate about Vaughn or be completely delusional, or you're gonna have to be forced to be acknowledge certain uncomfortable truths. And to be honest, like salute to my man Dave, but like the moment I heard he said yo, maybe when Vaughn was talking about bodies, he was talking about the chicks he smashed. I said, oh, we got it. It's like that's being willfully ignorant. It's being willfully ignorant about if people in the UK could read through and decode what this person's admitting, and it's also matching up with actual crimes. Brother, you can't tell me you're on the streets of Chicago and you're thinking you're playing games. So now we're not even having a debate. Now we're not having a debate. Now we're having a.
He ain't lying though. You just trying to insult, and people get mad at that too. Just because your dumbass either slow or want to be beautiful term. That's why academics number 2 on the complex list this year. You can't be willfully ignorant, bro. Can't be selectively, angry at one thing and then cool with the next. I ain't see all this any other time when people are mad about things and happy about things. You gonna ignore that this dude is like Dylan Roof? Come on, man.
We're having
Weirdo.
and by the way, this is the easiest thing. They do it to me too. When we can't debate you, we're gonna just say you're the police. We're gonna call you the cops.
How can I be a street nigga and get on here and say he bodied somebody? So I'm supposed to be like, oh yeah, he killed the motherfucker. When you in the streets, you don't tell it, you don't talk.
Then don't get your ass online. Don't get your ass online. If you don't want to do that, then don't get your ass online. Because you don't want the attention with the clout. You don't want the problems with the clout. So don't get your ass online. Stay your ass
shit
on
that's
the block.
in the streets. You don't get on the internet and talk about that. That's where I come from. So I would never get on here and mention nothing about nobody bodies or nothing. Even if I was right there when they murdered the motherfucker, I'm not going to speak about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The conversation is disingenuous because you come into the conversation saying that what Trap Lord Ross did and framing Vaughn as a serial killer is unfair, when in reality, Vaughn is not the victim. The 7 people or however many that he may have been accused of or to be the suspect of being killed or killed, those are the victims.
Exactly. Nobody feels bad for the demon. That's why Lil Tim killed the demon, because he's a demon slayer. That's like you want somebody to feel bad for Lucifer. Vaughn was Lucifer. That's why you guys are pumping him up, because y'all trying to push this evil agenda. Because all he was doing was pushing death. It wasn't even like cartoon movie death. It wasn't Top Gun movie Maverick death. It wasn't Marvel X-Men death. It's real death.
So you're
he was a victim.
The victim is not Vaughn.
Can I be real with you though? If you watch Ross's video, it doesn't come off like that. And this to me, I'm gonna ask all of the relevant questions, but I've watched the evolution of Trap Lord Ross's video from the time that he was painting his face like 6ix9ine to the time to where I actually believe that he's become one of the most thorough, one of the most digestible, and one of the most noteworthy documentarians, period. And I tell people this all the time.
That's a fact.
If you watch the whole video, there's no way that you come away with the idea that King Von
a victim of life and circumstances. A victim of life and circumstances.
That's what I mean to say. And that's what I mean to say. Like there's just let me finish acting. I'm not gonna talk this, but the whole beginning of the video is an interrogation and an explanation of the circumstances of King Von's life that might have led him
to becoming some of the things that people
No,
think
no, absolutely.
Now
You
you
know,
got it out.
most people that come from, you know, any impoverished background or any background or area where there's a lot of violence, they're probably a victim of that. That's not what, you know, obviously if you watch the whole thing, you saw somebody who kind of maniacally enjoyed the fact that, you know, he had the power to kill and that he did kill.
He enjoyed it. He reveled in it. And to a certain degree, he liked the power and the prestige it gave him, especially around his peers. What are you talking about?
And bragged about other killings and bragged about inflicting hurt and pain. That's a little bit different. But, you know, even beyond that, that's what I was just saying about even this debate. I'm like, if you're going into it saying that, you know, everything was wrong, I think that's also being not only disingenuous to, like, we got common sense here. We're not gonna, like, yeah, we don't have to be police, you're right. We don't have to solve crimes. But if a dude is basically just giving us all the clues and it matches up with everything, like, come on, we don't gotta admit it, but it has to be understood at least. So then when you start moving the conversation, and by the way, I've been in a bunch of these conversations, it always stops here. You know, my approach, which is a little bit different than Traplo Ross's approach, is I'll admit some culpability. And what the culpability I've always admitted is that, by the way, what I do in Traplo Ross does is slightly different. When I did the Warren Sharrock, I've always told people I would never do it again, only because I did it in a satirical approach. I gave nicknames and some of those things when dealing with.
He's right. He did do it in a different format. To me, I'm going to keep it 1,000. Traplo Ross is much like what Van Lathan's summary of him was. Like, he makes very great digestible content in a documentary format, but he's not the best researcher. Like, even this Vaughn documentary, nothing he said was nothing that wasn't already put together. I would say Chicago 88 is probably the best at documenting and putting the clues. All of what he's basically doing, which is Trap Lord Ross, is narrating it in a more conventional way and putting the clips in a more edited, formatted way. While at Chicago 88, he does a little editing, but everything is text to speech. You don't know what the guy sounds like, for real. You don't know what he looks like. But his information is literally exactly what Trap Lord Ross is doing with his Vaughn and many other people. Then I'll say a lot of what he took is straight out of 16 Shotums, maybe some Zach TVs and like stuff like that. But it's like he's very good at taking the content and refurbishing it. That's what I'd say, and putting it in like not a McDonald's, but like a Chick-fil-A kind of way.
With a lot of pain and hurt, you should probably remove. Okay, so I've always said that wasn't the best way to do it. Right at that time, I felt it was. In hindsight, I would have done it that way. But I still defend whether it's me, Traplo Ross, or anybody else. Like, you got to realize, like, King Von made a whole a career worth tens of millions of dollars off of these crimes and bragging about all the violence he did. You can't tell me that because he's entitled to that, the victims don't get any type of, by the way, imagine being a victim or a family of one of the victims, and the dude who allegedly did something to your relative is the biggest rapper from your neighborhood. There is no payback for that. They don't get anything. So it's kind of like, it's odd when y'all point out, like, yo, you're not from Chicago. How could you talk about it? You're from the UK. How could you talk about it? Well, it's always thinking about the person who's probably already inflicting all this violence. Nobody, like, the whole conversation we having, it would be different if we start talking about the 7 people, right? But most of it is about Vaughn's image. Did he do it? Did he not do it? Is he charged? Is he not? What about the actual people who clearly were victims? Okay, what about the people who he built a career off bragging about them being dead? What about that, right? Because there's a bunch of those people. Are we ever going to talk about that? And then the last thing, because I want to just suck up all the air in the room, the last thing always comes to this. I love these conversations, and I always get to I always like to join them because I want to show that we need to progress. Like, for example, if we're all, and that's what I was saying about being disingenuous to a conversation, if no one's willing to concede, we're just going to be here just like talking at like brick walls. The reason why I always say, okay, I'll admit that, the way I handled the media for that time in the war in Chirac wasn't the best, is because I'm hoping other people are going to say, well, these things aren't as well conducive to trying to stop the violence, but no one stops there. People usually love all the blame on the media, right?
He's right though. At the end of the day, because like everybody's talking about his this and that. Y'all not talking about the family of the victims, what they're going through, about him pushing this narrative and benefiting, generating millions of dollars off of it. Of course, his record label is going to be like, yeah, we want to not make him look like this because they're making money off of this. And if they keep pushing this type of narrative, these families can go back and be like, well, you know what? We want money from all of this. This is perpetual pain and suffering. So y'all generated millions of dollars. Like he just said, tens of millions, probably being, frugal in that way of saying it. Probably much more than that. Generating all this perpetual income off of their pain, their suffering, and they don't get a dime. That's why I got when Two Good Mother, shout out to her, blessings to her. She was with Charleston White along with Mama Duck and them, dissing them. And not even dissing them, but just really sharing her pain, like, as far as her narrative, because don't nobody know about that. Y'all just making jokes about her son, talking about y'all smoking and burning this one. This is people's real lives. And that's why I feel like King Von was a weirdo, and why we need to stop celebrating these type of weirdo activities. Everybody in this, yeah, you might have to man somebody down if it comes to it, but you don't perpetually hunt and look for those situations and then try to get gratification. Like you are a pestilence. You are a detriment beyond that, man. You are just a disease to our society, and we need to stop trying to act like our society don't have that sickness while we ain't walking around sick with them. So this one to that one, y'all hear what it is. What y'all think? To the next one, we out of here.